calling the regular meeting of the Cape Coral Charter School Governing Board to order. Today is Tuesday, April 11th, 2023, and we are at the Oasis Elementary South Cafeteria. And welcome all. If we could have a moment of silence. Great, thank you. If we could stand for a pledge of allegiance.
Right, face. Forward, march. Colors, halt. Left, face. Treason, colors.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God.
Order, colors. Right, face. Forward, march. Colors, halt.
Thank you. And we'll begin with our roll call.
Minaya,
Present.
Rodriguez Mian, present. Ataselli, present. Jackson, present. Long,
Present.
Parent Representative Coleman, present.
All right, thank you. And if we could move ahead with the approval of the minutes. Motion to approve.
Motion approved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. And any changes to the agenda before we approve that?
Yeah, I have a motion to move 13A, I believe, to 9A, and then to accept the balance of the agenda.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. Okay, with that, we now move to public comment. Thank you all for being here today, but we have up to 3 minutes for public comment. If anyone would like to stand at the podium and share your thoughts or comments, we have up to 45 minutes total, but 3 minutes per individual. Yes, oh, please.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Melissa Troy. I am a high school teacher. I teach science. And I would like to talk about the switch to class periods today. Is this my everyone here? Thank you. So our school provides small class sizes, many electives, and additional college prep courses. And this is what we pride ourselves on. Every year with the open house and our reflection of that is always told to us that we have such like a family atmosphere and we have so many opportunities that we can provide the students. My personal beliefs are if we move to a class period setting instead of a block where it's split over 2 days, there's many effects that will come from this. Firstly, moving to 7 class periods instead of having our block set of 8, students are losing 1 class per year that they can take, and that's just full length classes. So with this switch, it could impact the students to losing 4 to 8 classes per year, which is needed in order for our students to be the most successful. We also pride ourselves on being able to offer such a very strong dual enrollment program, as well as having many ACE classes in order for these students to get ahead and look towards college credits. And this will be directly affected if we move to class periods with that one class that's lost for a year, or 2 semester classes that are lost for a year. I believe that this will affect the teaching staff as well, in the sense of with 1 class period less to teach, our total number of students per class is going to increase greatly unless we have more teachers to actually teach in the schools, which is already a really hard thing to find, especially at a high school. Other than that, it would also affect our graduation rates and our dual enrollment rates, which is very important when it comes to our school grade. With these extra classes set in place, we have more opportunities for the students to get further in their classes or take more classes that they need to hit their graduation requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Well, please state your name.
Hi, I'm Felix Kylie. I just want to say this school is amazing. From the principal to the teachers to everybody. My nieces and nephews go to a different school, and I'm deeply trying to get them here. I mean, everybody's great here. I mean, from the talent shows to this to just everything. Everything is amazing here. I love it. I love my kids here. I want my nieces, my nephews, my son to go here. I want everybody to go to this school. It has been a great experience for my kids and myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll move ahead with our agenda. And again, thank you for the comments that were made. Most helpful. And thanks for all of you who are here with us this evening for our board meeting. And now for the consent agenda, Superintendent Tom, would you like to share a few thoughts on before we go to?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Benaya. That's better. Thank you, Dr. Benaya. Their consent agenda item A is a request for approval of the Cambridge University ACE Curriculum and Assessments Program. It's an invoice. We pay for assessments for this program. It exceeds the $100,000 threshold. The amount of approval that we are requesting from the board is $119,670.40. Would the board like to make a motion to approve the expense for the Cambridge program?
Motion to approve these ones.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just made some points about how preparing students for university coursework helps to distinguish you all among high school choices, and I just think that's important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely something that sets us apart from the schools that we can.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay. Consent agenda item B is a request for approval of the Oasis Charter Schools ad pay codes for the upcoming school year 2023-2024. We have ad pays for additional duties for support staff and teacher staff. It's in addition to their daily requirement as per contract. The ad pay codes have not changed since last year with the exception of one ad pay. We did increase on the schedule the ad pay for substitute coordinator. It was well overdue to be increased from $1,700 to $4,000. And the reason for the increase is that extra duty requires one person per school to contact substitute teachers 24/7. That means early in the morning from about 5 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock. It requires weekend hours. And we compared some other ad pays on our list, and we thought that that would be substantial and give someone more of an oomph to want to take on that role, because it is quite a role. So, you have a copy of the ad pay schedule. That's the only one that has changed. We're keeping everything else the same. If the board would be so moved as to approve the ad pay schedule for next year.
Oh,
Thank you, Spring.
Dr. Manati, I need to turn yours off.
yeah.
Get this thing.
Now, can you hear me? Okay. So I was reviewing all the ad pays, and I was curious about the bilingual ad pay. It was pretty low. And so I'm curious to what that role entails, how much interpreting is happening, how much translating is happening. It can be a pretty exhaustive, addition to a regular job, so.
It's a very good question. I can defer to for schools. I know that we have one ESOL coordinator, Joanna Alves. She is the primary bilingual translator for the schools. If she's not available, I believe there's one additional person at each school that is required to translate for meetings for parent arrivals. Am I correct about that? Can you give board member Meehan an idea of how frequently that occurs?
Sorry, I tripped out.
It takes just a second. It was like,
All right, I'll talk really loud. So it is increasing. Especially in our school, we're starting to see the changes. It is needed more, but typically I have Emily Torres. She helps out, so she does that role for us. I wouldn't say it's a ton right now, but that might be something we need to look at in the future. And it will progress as a city.
High school, middle school, do you?
minimal,
Minimal.
really minimal. Couple phone calls here and there, a meeting maybe once every couple of weeks at best. It's not like what I used to, like in the district, for sure.
Same with preschool person. So are you okay to leave it the way it is this
So,
year? Or would you
I
like
mean,
to?
yeah. So if
Wait time, 5 seconds.
So, okay, there we go. If you feel, it's $200 for the year, right, is what I'm looking at. So your person, your people, is that an equitable amount? I'm trying to think of fairness, right?
No.
If I know Emily, she has a full-time job on top of that. You're the expert here. So if you think that that's fair, then
We probably did 3 or 4 so far. It's more in the conversations on the phone when she comes, but that's usually with Nicole. That's where she usually handles all of that. But if it's a meeting, usually so far we've been able to handle it. She
okay. If admin says, and again, if in the future it increases and the demand is more on the employees, then we can definitely revisit.
I'm starting to see an uptick.
And Superintendent Collins, so once we make this decision, does it take effect immediately, or does this go into the next budget year?
This is for the next budget year.
So for the next budget year, okay.
This was also part of our payroll audit. This was a finding. They wanted the board to be aware of the ad pays, and they wanted the board to be able to approve the ad pays during the budget cycle, which is now. So I guaranteed our auditor that before June 30th, the board would be able to approve the ad pay schedule.
And as we go through the budget process, will there be other items that the board will have to approve for increases or changes?
Yes.
So basically, we're doing this step now,
Right.
it'll be incorporated in the budget, but there may be others.
That's correct.
To that process. All right, any further discussion or questions? Yeah, I think we had a motion to approve. In a second. All right, all in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
Any other points for basically consent agenda? And then now we move into the superintendent's report.
Okay. We have quite a performance here. I would first like to introduce to you Ms. Christina Plackey, who is the music and drama director here at Oasis Elementary School. And she has her cast of Aladdin that's coming in to sing a song for us.
Move all the way up. Move all the way up.
Ms. Plackey, is this the entire cast?
Just the vast, we're just missing a few people. So we have 49 kids in our cast of Aladdin, and many of them are here tonight. Next week we are going to be performing on Wednesday and Thursday at 6:30, and on Saturday at 11 and 4. Our 4 o'clock show is already sold out. So if you want to get tickets, there's a few tickets left at the Wednesday show, a few tickets left at the Thursday show, a good amount of tickets left at the Saturday at 11 show. And this is at Cultural Park Theater. We have a contract with Cultural Park Theater this year, and we are using their facilities, their sound people, and I'm really looking forward to the partnership that we'll have with them. So this is our cast of Aladdin Jr., and they are going to sing the opening song of Arabian Nights.
Welcome to the fabled city. Imagine a land, it's a faraway place where the caravan camels roam. Where you wander among every culture and tongue. It's chaotic, but hey, it's home. When the wind's from the east and the sun's from the west and the sound in the north is right, come on down, stop on by, hop a car and fly to another Arabian night. Arabian nights, like Arabian days, more often than not, are hotter than hot. You're not a good Arabian nights, like Arabian blues. A fool off his guard could fall and fall hard out there on the dunes. Now you know what Agrabah is famous for, right? The lamb. Don't be fooled by its commonplace appearance. Like so many things, it is not what is outside, but what is inside that counts. Arabian Nights, Arabian Nights. See, Agrabah is a city where a penniless nobody could turn out to be a noble somebody, even if his pals are thick as Arabian Nights. See, Agrabah's a the place where a princess would give up her crown for true love, even if her father was certain stickler for the ancient ways. Here it's wise to watch your step, for danger lurks around every corner, but most importantly, everybody should see where everybody sings. Arabian Nights, like Arabian days. More often than not, are hotter than hot in a lot of good ways. Arabian Nights, like Arabian moon. A fool off his guard could fall in hard out there on the dunes. Arabian Nights, Arabian Nights, Arabian Nights, Arabian
And if you want to see them in full costume and full choreography, come to our show next week. Thank you for having us.
All right.
It's raining. Wait, no, you already have one. I have one. This is only one. Oh, yeah. Okay. She's about to be. But can you show me if they're going to look like the Dragon Age from our season last week or something?
It's meant to be.
Okay, and I have one more presentation before I give my report. Actually, I have two. I have Lori McLean here. She's got this terrific STEM project going on at Oasis Middle School. It's called CGM Bears. Am I correct about that? CGM Bears. We'll let her talk to you about this just for a second. Go ahead.
Take that from you. Nothing, Rick. Don't need it. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. It's a little hard to follow that up, but I'll do the best we can. Too cute. The STEM program at Oasis Middle, it evolves and changes as our days and our years go on. We have a new STEM elective that's focused on manufacturing. It's brand new for this year. It's called Making for Good. This class encourages innovative design thinking among our students while nurturing social entrepreneurship. The CGM Bear project is just one example of the manufacturing experiences supported in this class. It is the direct result of Dr. Omenson and Nurse Klages, who kind of brainstormed together and came up with this wonderful idea. The Oasis Charter School Foundation has also been instrumental in providing the funding for the first 45 bears. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Jenny Schoonover, our STEM teacher for Making for Good, and she can share more details about the CGM project and what the kids in the community are kind of reaching out for. This is really getting bigger than we expected so quickly. Ms. Schoonover.
Good evening. One of the many qualities of the Making for Good is the opportunity for our students to give back to the community in meaningful ways. The goal of our CGM Bear project was to modify a bear to have its very own continuous glucose monitor to support children who are first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We started this project discussing the history of toy modifications. Then Nurse Klages visited our classes to teach our students about type 1 diabetes. One of the topics they learned about is monitoring blood sugar levels with a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM. This is a small device typically worn on the abdomen or back of the arm that can give real-time information about a person's glucose level. Using Tinkercad, they designed a 3D model of a CGM. These were then sewn onto a fabric patch to represent the adhesive pad and then sewn onto the bears. They also digitally designed a positive t-shirt logo to be heat pressed onto all the bears' t-shirts, and the t-shirts will also sport a sleeve logo to represent Oasis. While this started as
While this started as a local project through word of mouth, we will be creating bears not just for Oasis, Cape Coral Hospital, Golisano Children's Hospital, and Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago. The kids cheer like crazy every time I tell them there's another hospital requesting bears. And moments ago, we heard from Dr. Omenson that a hospital in Memphis is also interested in our bears. I can't wait to see them in front. As a teacher, what has been remarkable to see is the genuine dedication to the project, the care put into each component, the collaboration, and most of all, the growth and empathy I hear in the conversations our students are having on a daily basis. They take so much pride in knowing they are making a difference. Thank you. I'm sorry? The foundation? They did. They funded our first bears. Yes. First 45. Yes, thank you. And the t-shirts. Thank you.
That's great.
And how much does it cost to make bear, or how, like if others wanted to assist?
The bears are bought both on Amazon along with the t-shirts. I would say about $250 per bear. I would have to pay the vinyl piece to be able to expand on that further, but they're relatively inexpensive.
We're always doing unique things in our STEM program, which leads me to one of the points I was going to make in my report, is that tomorrow the principals and one of their STEM teachers will be leaving for Minneapolis, Minnesota to go to the ITEA conference and receive an award for STEM School of Excellence program. The two schools receiving the award are Oasis Elementary North and Oasis Middle School. So, and I'm going to join them as well. The good news is that in Minneapolis yesterday, the high was 41 degrees. Tomorrow, the high is going to be 84. So the stars have aligned for the Florida Canadians to travel. And we're very excited about going. I think Oasis North, are you participating in the showcase?
Yeah, Ms. Young's.
Okay, and middle school did that last year as well when they went with Dr. Fulmerson. So,
Yes.
so we're very excited.
Yes.
We're very excited about going. Let's see, superintendent report for the month of April. I'd like to talk about the Oasis High School principal search. We had a good amount of candidates. I think we had about 7 or 8 candidates that applied on NeoGov and Indeed. We narrowed it down to 3 qualified candidates. One is an external candidate from Lake County, 2 are internal candidates. So, and we did a panel of interviews. It was the principals, myself, our lovely new HR manager, Amy Brown, and we had some of our teachers also participate. We're going to do a second round, very informal. We're going to have our candidates come back, 2 of our candidates come back to do a second interview with me and to meet the staff and students of Oasis High School. That was a request, actually, of one of our candidates to do that. I thought it was a great idea. And one of our candidates is there every day. That doesn't need to actually do that, but you can meet with me. So that's going to happen the week of April 17th. We're scheduling those now, and we're looking to make a final decision to hire by the end of April, and then person in position by mid-June. If we had to wait till July 1st, which is the beginning of the next fiscal year, it's understandable. We can be flexible. We've got 2 very good APs in there that can run the show indefinitely. So that's where we are right now. I'll be emailing the staff of Oasis High School to let them know that they will be coming through. Please ask questions, talk to them, get a feel for them as well. If you have any questions about the Oasis High School principal search?
We feel that the pool of candidates that we have been rated are good candidates that will fill the shoes of Dr. Brent, or would it be us to wait?
See who else applies.
I would say most of the candidates that applied were not qualified for the position in that they had never been a principal before. Some had been assistant principals at a high school, some had not at all. So we're going to proceed. We're going to keep going with the process and see what happens. We're not in a rush. Like I said, I've got 2 great APs that can run that building. And if they can get through this time of year, which is the busiest time of year with the most activities going on, including testing, that's going to speak a lot to their caliber as well. So we're going to stretch it out as long as we see fit until we get a great person in that position.
We let that position stretch out to fund.
Okay, yesterday also, we renegotiated our cultural park theater contracts for next year. They are delightful to work with. They enjoy bringing the students in. We have the same schedule as we did this year. Oasis High School goes in May, Oasis Middle School's first at the end of March, and Oasis Elementary South will be in May. They are allowing us to use their soundboard, their tech person. They will create scenes for us using whatever resources they have on hand, which is great. And they are advertising on their marquee and on their website for our performances. So already the high school is coming up. They're 4 weeks out and they're almost sold out. And the elementary school is getting very close too. So it's nice to have a community theater in a cultural hotspot in the city where we can call home. Our ticket prices are all the same across the board. We get the same experience. It's just a very nice place to go home. So I'm very happy about that. The high school's production is Mamma Mia. The tickets are on sale now. If you're interested. In transportation news, we have 5 new buses that are going to be on the road by Monday, April 17th. We are outfitting them with fuel rings. Right now, we have to take them to Lee County to program the fuel rings so that we can get into a fuel readings and we can pay our fuel bills. And we're organizing the radios. They have to have radios installed. So out of the 6 that were delivered, 4 are going to be ready. There's an air brake leak on one of them that has to be taken care of by the manufacturer this week. And one is still in Jacksonville getting their air conditioning installed. So we'll be in great shape by next Monday. We'll be in even better shape probably by the end of the year with all 7 buses. And then next year we're on schedule to buy 6 additional buses. So I'm anticipating that our maintenance costs, fleet maintenance costs go down significantly starting.
Are we going to be getting rid of some of the older buses or are we going to keep them?
We're going to retire some completely. We're going to keep some as spares. We are also going to add another route to the middle school next year because we have a waiting list of about 50 students, which would fill a bus. And we're going to try to reconfigure some of our routes. So yes for retirement for most, spares for some. Then we should be in great shape by next year. Right, finally.
Are you going to do those new buses that they become available?
Yeah. So yeah. And the bus drivers fight over the brand newest models, so we have to be, we have to think about who gets one, who gets one. Okay, the budget meeting, as you know, has been postponed. We're going to hold it at the next scheduled budget meeting, which is May 9th at 4 o'clock before the board meeting. Our budget analyst, Cassandra, she's worked so hard working at this budget. You have to remember that the budget was the brainchild of Mary Ann Monitz, our business manager in years past. She knew where the money was held, what line items. So for somebody new coming in, and our principals and I, we had very limited access to the budget. She maintained the budget. We gave her direction on certain line items, but not most. So when Cassandra came in, she had to figure out where things were hidden, where things were placed in line items. She basically had to start from scratch for next year. So I hope I said that correctly. She told me recently, next time I want to start in October because this was a much bigger job than I ever anticipated. She was right. She's asking us questions that we're having a hard time struggling to find those answers. So she'll be ready hopefully by the May 9th meeting. If we so feel that we need an additional meeting, we'll have to hold another meeting outside of the board meeting to do a final approval so that you can tentatively approve in June. So I think we'll be on track. She just needs a little more time getting those figures together.
Timing on that department analyst is working on board new board members.
They'll be involved. So it actually worked out good. So I'm giving her a lot of support. She's really doing a great job. with the help of Andre, who's sitting in the back, our accountant, and other finance staff members that are helping her through it as well. Okay, I talked about that. Let's see. We are going to do another, I wanted to give you an update on the modulars before I turn it over to Patrick Nasawi, who's going to give a presentation on block scheduling versus period scheduling. We are on task for the portables. They are going to be delivered, the actual physical buildings, at mid-May. The problem, we're expediting the permitting process. The city manager has asked that process be pushed through very quickly, and sure enough, I got an email today that is happening. The biggest holdup is really the site improvement, because typically it goes out to bid, and that's a 30-day window to receive bids. So if we had to do that, we would not make the window. So what the city manager is going to recommend to city council is that they waive the 30-day window. Let's see, Public Works will talk to the procurement to see if they can waive the bid process and go out to get quotes instead. In order to do this, they need city council approval. Mr. Ilchison didn't think city council would have a problem with that, as long as they met all the necessary procurement requirements, and we're in the process of finding that out. If we can get 3 quotes, great. We'll pick the best one. Vesta, the modular company who's actually building the physical classrooms, is capable of doing site improvement as well. We're going to see if they're interested in doing the site improvements. So that's going to be our plan B if we don't get a quote going out to the public. And then the last resort, plan C, is that city crews can do the site improvements if necessary. And we might have to resort to that in order to meet that very narrow 70-day window that we have for installation. So they've said that with plan A, B, and C in place, one of these plans will work, and we will get them installed by the first day of school. So we're hoping that that's the ideal situation, and Kevin can enroll 42 additional students and 2 new teachers, because of course 4 of those classrooms will just go out and resume occupancy of 4 additional portables. He's going to add 2 classrooms, K-1, because we have waiting lists now in K-1, and the other 2 classrooms for this year will be an art room and a music room, because that school is on carts. And it's very convenient for those teachers and for those students. So it's going to be very tricky. It's scheduling enrollment. We don't want to schedule them now and say, okay, you have a seat August 10th, and then for some reason something happens and they're behind schedule and we can't enroll them for the first 10 days of school. So we're going to work very carefully with Public Works to make sure that we're very flexible at that window. But the good news is that we're on schedule, because last week we were not. And that was very, very disappointing to hear. But we rallied the troops, and they're going to make it happen.
Mr. Chair, Patrick. Am I correct in assuming that of those 3, that somehow the city crew would be the most expensive of those options?
That I don't know. Oh, you know what? I saw David Grant. Would you like to comment on this at all? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, sorry. Where's the mic? My boss is up. David Grant, for the record, interim deputy public works director. Everything, I'm listening to you explain that situation, and you're absolutely correct. The city made a commitment to have the modulars in and up before the end of summer, first day of school, and we are committed to that. And had some discussions, this is a CIP team project, but they're going to have the full support of the public works teams when it comes to site work. So if we get tapped to come in and provide or self-perform the site work in order to expedite any processes, that'll be our goal. And we're going to do whatever it takes to have those modulars in before next school season.
We've already given our 1.67 million to the city. We've turned it over for that project, and that's all we had. That's what we had earmarked for this project. So if there's an additional expense, I guess that's something that we're going to have to speak to. I was under the impression that if we exceeded that amount, because that quote, those funds we got several years ago, that the city would put forth any extra expense. But we'll have to clarify that.
Yeah, that's fine. My inquiry was just, I know that typically when we do the billing and the maintenance and stuff for you guys, somehow those bids come in some cases more than what you would get in the outside service. So my curiosity was how we got to that being the last stop rather than theoretically it being, if it's a possibility, why would that be the last possibility?
Why would that be the last one?
Correct.
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, we can find them out.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions about the portals?
I think there's a meeting next week, correct?
There's a meeting, yes, we're going to touch base with the city manager. He's going to give us an update as to where they are in the process, and I'll answer those important questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Patrick, great. I have science and math teacher Pat Sally from Oasis High School. He's our physics teacher, am I right about this?
No,
Sorry?
calculus.
Calculus, he's our calculus teacher. He came to the administration a couple months ago with a concern about block scheduling, the fact that Lee County has gone to period scheduling, and he did a very efficient analyzation of one versus the other. And I'm going to let him do some presenting. Now, I have made Oasis High School, I'm a big proponent of block scheduling. I like the 87-minute period. It gives you plenty of time to do testing, to do science fair projects through their entirety, to do mock ACE exams. I know when I was a teacher, when I taught writing, I needed a good 60 minutes to get through one writing essay or writing period. So I've always been a believer in block. However, over time, we've done block scheduling consistently for the last several years. I think it's been 5 years since Christy Burton's been here. We're finding that maybe there needs to be a change for a variety of reasons. And Patrick is going to, she's going to give the analyzation, the pros and cons. But I want you to consider that the biggest finding we have is that we have a lot of new teachers that are brand new to the profession, and we have a lot of alternative certification teachers that didn't go through the traditional model of education to become a teacher. That means they didn't get their teaching degree. They're coming from a different profession, and they're entering teaching. So that certification model is different, and it does require them to take college coursework in how to be a teacher, classroom management, the coursework that the rest of us took when we went through that elementary programming. And because we're finding that we have a good amount of teachers every year consistently that are new to teaching, getting them through an 85-minute class schedule is very difficult. It's very difficult to masterfully use those minutes efficiently. And what we're finding, and what I find when I walk through the hallways, is I see a lot of free time at the end of periods where they're playing on their phones, they're having class discussions, they're just sitting talking, you know, for 15, 20 minutes at a time. Is that a bad thing? There are pros and cons. So before I say anything else, if we can have a conversation afterwards, this is an informational piece for the board. It's not something that you have to vote on. We're contemplating going to period scheduling to try it. We also want to see if we can align ourselves properly with middle school. Donnie does something unusual. He does block scheduling for electives, but he schedules his core classrooms to meet every single day. So a middle school student is meeting every day for a certain amount of time for math, reading, language arts, for civics, and for science that's being tested in 8th grade. And he has top performing school, middle school in Lee County. So maybe there's something to be said about the fact that you're having those core subjects every day. In addition, it allows for planning every teacher every day, which I believe is critical. So I'm not going to say anymore. I'm going to turn it over to Patrick, who's done a wonderful job coming up with this presentation. Patrick.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Governing Board, and Superintendent Collin. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. So this presentation was made by Dr. Brennan and myself. Dr. Brennan was someone who's a very big component to going to periods. She's been trying to do it for several years. So this first slide was made by her, going over what Superintendent Collins talked about how the majority of our teachers, we only have 36 teachers on staff at the high school. Because you see 15 of them are within those first 3 years. So as you said, we have a lot of new teachers new to the profession entering the high school. All right, once you enter, you obviously have to learn how to classroom manage and run your class efficiently. 87 minutes or 85 minutes, whatever it may be, it is very difficult to teach when you're a brand new teacher, to keep every minute actually effective. And so that's one major thing there. Now, we're going to put these points here. We foresee more alternative certification teachers in the future due to changes in the legislature and reduction of teacher applicants. Currently, right now on the block schedule, students see their teacher every other day. I think that's one of the biggest cons for blocks. They both have the pros and cons. Periods are not 100% better than blocks. That is not what I'm trying to claim here. They're both very good for different reasons. Okay, but I think one of the major cons for blocks is we see them every other day. Case in point is tomorrow at the high school, the juniors have SAT day. So tomorrow is an odd day. So those juniors, last time they had an odd day was last Thursday. Then they're supposed to have it tomorrow, but they won't see their teachers because they have an SAT. So they won't see their teachers until Friday. So their instruction is last Thursday to this Friday. That is a week between class periods. That is a long amount of time when you're trying to keep, especially towards ACE exams, and you're trying to make sure the students are prepared for their exams. Seeing them a week apart is very difficult, and then they won't see their teachers again until the following Tuesday, another half a week later. Whenever we have a holiday, we want to have 4 to 8 weeks, we only see our classes two times per week. So if a student's absent for one day, they essentially just missed half a week of instruction. That is a lot of instruction to miss. If we're just in periods though, they only miss 45 minutes, we'll see them the next day, not a big deal. Or we can catch them up after school or something like that. So that students see the teachers every other day, that's a very big component of why I'd like us to switch the periods. Because that daily instruction is very important, as Superintendent Collins says. At the middle school, they already have daily instruction. Even though they have the block model, their English and math classes are every single day, 90 minutes per day, or we have 90 minutes every other day. The last thing here, and Dr. Britton put that there, is that we have planning every other day, and every other school in the WASA system has planning every day. All right, very difficult for planning. I remember one time I once talked to Dr. Britton about something, and my planning period was on Thursday, but I knew she wasn't going to be there Thursday, so I wouldn't be able to see her until Monday. So this is Wednesday, I want to meet with my principal, and I can't even see her until the following Monday, because I just don't have a planning period that aligns with her. If we had a daily planning, if I can't see her Thursday, I'll just see her Friday. It's not a big deal. So why move to 7 periods? So the first thing is we see our students every single day. Daily instruction, daily practice, and all their core classes, as well as their electives. We have the planning period every single day, gives us that more flexibility, and additionally, the additional minutes we get, we move to periods. Right now, we have 85-minute blocks every 2 days, which average to 42.5 minutes per day. We move to periods, now we have 47 minutes per day. If you extrapolate that over an entire year, that adds an extra 1,000 minutes into the school year. If you divide that by 47-minute class periods, that's an additional 20 class periods that we get throughout the year. Very critical for preparing the students for the ACE exams and the EOCs. If you look there, we have the comparison of minutes, and at the very bottom, we have the comparison of hours. Currently on the block schedule, we're at less than 128 hours, but we go to periods, we go to 144 hours for the year. The ACE program recommends, when they design their curriculum, 180 hours per year. So regardless, we're not going to hit that 180 number, but at least in the periods, we're a lot closer than we are with blocks. So teaching and learning in a 7-day period. The first thing is the material is chunked better for the students. All right, today, for example, I had to teach today, and I had to go over 2 different sections of my textbook in my calculus class. If I was in periods, I waited one today and one tomorrow. Because we're in blocks, I have to do 2 full lessons in one day. I don't feel like I have more time to teach. I have to do double the teaching in half the amount of time. The same amount of time, but half the number of days. Absences of blocks are very concerning. If a student, like I said, they miss 1 class period currently in the blocks, they're missing half a week of instruction. That's a long amount of time, a long time to miss. I had a couple of students miss class last week, they missed an entire chapter. And my math classes, you guys know math is compounding. You miss 1 class period with 1 chapter, the next chapter has to do with that, and the next chapter has to do with that. So you miss 1 day, now we're playing catch up for several weeks on end. It's very difficult to catch someone up. I said, if you miss periods, you could probably just meet one-on-one after school for 10 to 15 minutes, and we could probably catch up a full 45-minute period. But a 90-minute block, that is very difficult to catch up. Even one-on-one, it's going to take a good amount of time. It's 90 minutes of instruction that the students just missed. Dr. Brim put this point in about attention span. She looked into the research and said that what she could find is that attention spans is about 2 to 3 minutes per age of life. So a 15 to 18-year-old student has an average attention span of about 30 to 40 minutes, which is a lot closer to the periods than they are to blocks. So this will better help their attention spans. We saw that firsthand. We had a half day a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to another coworker of mine, and he said that he was able to teach a full 90-minute lesson in 45 minutes of a half day. Because the kids came in, they were way more engaged, they were ready to go, and that 45 minutes was a lot more effective than 90 minutes of dragging out and dreading to be there. Because again, the students just lose attention after a certain amount of time. They're ready to move on. With periods, by the time they're ready to move on, the bell rings, they go to the next class, and they're ready to continue learning a new material. The last point here, blocks require advanced teaching techniques and proper classroom management, effective classroom management. Given the teacher shortage, this is not always there. Whether blocks are or are not better than periods, if we don't have the teachers to teach on a block model, then it's a moot point. We should move over to the period model, right? And to use those 85 minutes very effectively, you need a very well-seasoned teacher. Because to bring in a new teacher, you can teach them to keep 47 minutes entertaining, but 84 minutes is a significantly longer amount of time. What does the research say? So I went into the research and I read into it, and what I read, most of the research came back from the 90s. Another coworker who's in favor of the block sent me a letter, and on the letter I looked down to the bottom, and the paper was from 1999, and on that paper itself, it said there is little to no conclusive evidence saying one model is better than the other outside of Canada and North Carolina. There's a couple of studies there. And when you look into those studies, they're not inconsistent with each other. Some will say periods is better, some will say blocks is better. So it's not consistent, and it's also not conclusive. So at this point, I have a couple counter arguments that have been brought up to me, and I put my comments to those counter arguments. One of them was additional minutes gained in the periods is not truly gained because at the beginning and end of class, students are coming in and they're not ready to learn. So really, you're losing minutes at the beginning and the end. I think that's untrue. In the proper classroom management, if they come into a bell ringer or some bell work and they have an exit ticket when they leave, we can keep them engaged from bell to bell. We're not losing any minutes, we're gaining minutes, and that's the important thing. What about science experiments that take additional time? My wife is the chemistry teacher at the school. I know her ACE experiment very well. She has to give an ACE practical at the end of the year. It's 3 experiments in 2 hours. 3 experiments in 2 hours is about 40 minutes per experiment. That aligns a lot more with periods than it does with a 90-minute block. What about mock ACE exams and SATs and ACTs when you want to do practice? Again, that's very important. We are a high-achieving school. We have ACE exams, and we want to get the kids ready for that. The timing on the exams, most exams are about 90 minutes, 75 to 90 minutes. All you have to do is split them over 2 days or look at other avenues. I do math tutoring every Friday after school. I'll get 30 or 40 kids there for 2 hours, and they can get their practice done. Additionally, with the SAT sections, if you look at the minutes there, most of those are a lot closer with a 47-minute period anyway. 65 minutes is the longest one. If you train them to do that in a 47-minute block period, then they have time to go back and look at their answer rather than them taking the time over 90 minutes. How this affects the students. So students, one question is what about the number of electives they have? I know that was an issue when Lee County came over. When Lee County went over to periods, they have an ID program at Cape where they have to take 7 classes. That's why they didn't have any electives. In our ACE program, students only have to take pretty much at most about 5 ACE classes their junior year. They only take 1 ACE class their freshman year, 3 their sophomore year, and about 5 or so their junior year. So they have plenty of time to still take electives. Homework overload was a concern. I had some students say, we're going to have 7 homework assignments per day. That's never going to happen. I looked on their focus and the different teachers, and per quarter, I only see about 10 homework assignments in a quarter, which if there's 10 weeks in a quarter, that's only about 1 assignment per week. So they're not going to get 7 assignments per day. That's not going to happen. And also, teachers can just communicate with each other. Get a big essay due or a big project due. We can just make sure that we're spreading it out. So we're not assigning everything on one day. I don't think we would do that. We're close down. This changes the ACE progression. Short answer, no. It won't change anything in the ACE progression at all. Students can take all the ACE classes they want. They'll still take everything they want. Someone mentioned something earlier about dual enrollment. They still can take all the dual enrollment they want. In fact, periods work better and not model for dual enrollment. The issue with blocks is a lot of students actually cannot take in-person dual enrollment classes because the way we have it at the school is a student, if they have 7 period, let's say 12 to 135, if they have a class Monday, Wednesday, Friday 1 week, the following week they have that class Tuesday, Thursday. Well, at FSW, the classes are Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, and they're consistent there. We're not consistent. So because of that, you can't take an in-person class with the block model. Then we move over to the period model, and we just give them off campus the last 2 periods. Now they can actually take classes in person instead of with the majority of our students, they would just take them online. So again, moving to periods actually helps that dual enrollment aspect. And they do not take any lost classes, they can still take the same number of classes. What is around us? So if we look at all the counties around us adjacent to us, almost every single county is on periods. There's very few county on blocks. DeSoto County is on blocks, and the Miami-Dade County is on blocks. I went through and I looked at all the passing rates for all their subjects for these different counties, and by far, Sarasota, Hillsborough, all the counties that had periods did way better than the ones that had blocks. Miami-Dade was about at 14, they were about 6th place. There was 5 other counties better than them that all have the period model. Of course, there's many, many variables that go with this. This is not a direct apples-to-apples comparison. A lot of things go on, socioeconomic status, a lot of other things that affect different things. I understand that, but if we're just looking strictly at the data, once again, there's nothing to really say that blocks are better than periods or any more effective than periods. So that's pretty much my presentation. Again, the majority of these are my ideas and some of my coworkers I talked to. There's no formal survey or anything that went out. I talked to a lot of some coworkers around me. Again, the majority of the people I talked to were from the teachers were in favor of going to the periods. Very slight majority, not a major majority. From the guidance counselors, they both said they want to go to periods. And the administration, when Dr. Burton was there, 2 wanted to go to periods and 1 wanted to remain in blocks. So in general, the majority do want to go over to periods. So thank you so much for your time.
Will you stay and answer questions?
Yes, I'll answer questions.
Questions?
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. I was over it prior to this meeting and I have several questions. So number one, I'm glad you addressed the survey question or the majority of teachers, because I think that this is probably a shift or a move that does need to have stakeholder feedback, right? Teachers, the students, admin, obviously everyone, and that needs to be weighed in to what evidence says. Now, you're right that the evidence does not say that block is better than periods and periods are better. So I think we have to be careful with, with any kind of generalizations at that point, because there isn't. You're right. I looked up the research. The most recent study was in like 2000, and it was a compilation of literature reviews. And but a couple of things I want to, I guess, get some clarification on. So, attention span for adolescents. I teach child development, so we go over adolescents, and we know that their ability to hold attention increases as they get older. And I just pulled up just a quick study. It's from NIH, and just the last line says, in the abstract, it says, by the age of 12, and sustained attention continues to improve after 12 years of age and is associated with maturational changes in the frontal cortex. So they are capable of sustained attention. And so I just wanted to clarify that. Also, I think that, sorry, I have lots of notes here. I'm particularly concerned, and I hear you, Mr. Masawi, about your concerns about new teachers and a lack of pedagogy is what I'm hearing. But I'm particularly concerned when I hear things like blocks require advanced teaching techniques and effective classroom management, and kind of like, well, our teachers just don't have that. That's kind of what I'm hearing there. And I see that as then an opportunity for us to say, okay, we have these people who are obviously want to be teachers, they want to be working with the students, and they need support. And they need, and I know it's hard. I know, I train pre-service teachers. So I know it's hard, but it can be done. And they are capable if they have the will and if they have the support. I firmly believe you only have about, you're saying 15. That's a pretty small number of teachers to work with and to maybe put them through pedagogical training or to put them to put them in, or have coaches coming in and working with them, administration, or, you might be doing this already. But that statement gets me a little concerned, because if they don't have classroom management with 90 minutes, then how is that different with 45 minutes, I guess? I know it's a shorter amount of time. My husband's a high school teacher. He likes periods, okay? But that's something that I think we need to be mindful of, and I think that we, again, have an opportunity here to, if the teachers need support, then we should give it to them. We shouldn't change pedagogy, or, we shouldn't say, okay, like they just can't do it, or it's like too hard, or they're too new, or whatever, but we should support them in doing that. I definitely, I did speak to administrators in the district to get some feedback, and you did mention some of the things that they mentioned, that the length of time for mock assessments, the enough time for labs. So I kind of was thinking of the teacher who spoke. The time for labs has been constricted. Even with like changing for like PE and those kinds of classes, like time it's quick. 45 minutes, 43 minutes, whatever it is, it's quick. Hold on. So questions about what will be cut if the 8th class, is cut, if they go to 7th periods, like what are the students, what are they missing? I do specifically, I know you mentioned something about, on this slide 7, what about the number of elective students we'll have? Students are still free to take multiple electives per year, average of 2 to 3 unless enrolled in an intensive class. So if a student isn't in an intensive class, how many electives will they get at that point?
Depends on how many intensive classes they're in, but if they're in intensive math, intensive reading, that'll be 2 if they're electives. If 4 core classes, they still get at least 1.
Okay.
So it just depends. Intensive math is really only for seniors, so probably 2 at least. They just have intensive reading, and they'll have their 4 core subjects. So that'd be 5 classes.
So they would still have
They still
one
have
choice or 2?
electives out of the 7.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, our students graduate with more credits than required for graduation because they have so many elective choices. So by reducing one elective, they'll still have plenty of credits in order to make what the requirement is to graduate.
Okay. Yeah, so those are just some of my notes, some of my, I guess, wonderings. I do think, like I said, I appreciate the presentation. I think that, and I brought up the whole thing about getting them ready for university coursework. 7 periods is nothing like university, nothing like it. It's actually, like, we don't run like that at all. We have, I have gigantic blocks between, and obviously they're older, it's different, it's a little bit different. But I just kind of saw some contradiction in there, that we are preparing them for university coursework and this, to distinguish us, but then we're kind of doing the opposite of what they're probably going to experience in the university. I don't know, there might be universities that have, I doubt that, but, definitely in my experience, we've never, they see their professors once a week, twice a week, and there's issues with that. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but it just felt I was a little confused by that, so.
I think we have to consider the age as well. Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah.
We have a younger age group, different dynamic than those that are in the secondary. And I wanted to comment on teaching instructional strategies. We spent the entire year and half a year last year studying Marzano instructional strategies. So we've gotten a lot of training on what those are, how they should look, how to use your classroom time. We have tried it. We're going to continue to give them that kind of professional development. But what we're finding is that it's a lot. There are a lot of different instructional strategies that we're training them on. They're evaluated on those strategies. But it seems to be overwhelming on a new teacher or a bad cert teacher to come in and employ these with regularity. It's difficult. So in my opinion, and like I said, I'm on block all the way. I think we need to shorten the time frame. We need to continue to give them the professional development that they need. They need things like basic things like Kagan instruction as well. In addition to what we've already done, they need those skills as well. That has been hard to fit in on our tight PD schedule this year. So I think with additional PD, I think we're going to get closer to where we need to be. I'm not opposed. I'm not set on sticking with periods. If we can keep these teachers, keep them, and not have 35% turnaround every year, that's going to help. We don't have that. And now the teacher shortage, we're anticipating that's going to get worse.
And I'm interested to hear in the block schedule of the middle school or the schedule of the middle school, because I've talked to you before about how unique the university schedule is, right? And how it gives freedom not only to the students, but to the teacher as well. So, I'm intrigued to hear, because don't your teachers get planning every day as well? Yeah, so there might be like something in the middle that works. I just, like you said, the research doesn't really support either one. So maybe the middle ground is something to consider.
Thank you. Thanks. Just to clarify where we are. Check. So this year we do 4x4. So they see 4 teachers each day, 8 in their schedule, but math and language arts is a double. So they see their math teacher, their ELA teacher daily. They do not see their science and social studies teacher daily. But every teacher does have planning. So some things for us to consider, we think about kids too and on-task time. Obviously, we have 11-year-old, 12, and 13-year-old, so they're not quite developed, like you said. We're thinking of tweaking our block schedule. The district is moving to a 6x6, 12 classes in a student schedule. They will double everything in some schools, meaning double math, double language arts, double science, double social studies. Some schools will not. We are looking at a 5x5 model, so 10 classes in the student schedule, where we would double, like Jackie pointed out, the tested core classes. So all of math, all of language arts, 7th grade civics, and 8th grade science. So kind of almost what you said, an in-between of how to get there, get the optimal learning time. So that's what it's about, right? The most time you can have on task with students. And teacher planning, super important if you want them to be at their highest part of their game. So there will only be 4 sections that don't have their students daily. We'll get them for 60 minutes a day. That's kind of what we're looking at this point. There is no question that PD has to come with a block schedule. We have done a lot. It's been very good. It's new, so it's a beginning, but simply how to teach in a block and what that structure looks like is important for many. We have done that. We continue to do that, refine that. There was some mention about off-task time and what that looks like, and it does look different in every classroom. For us, it often looks like students working on assignments, because if you don't know, in this day and age, not many kids like homework. So they will not do anything at home. So you need a little bit of in-class time to get some of those tasks done. It allows the teacher to circulate, move around, help the students so that guided practice is available. That is working for us. 47 minutes for me in middle school is not enough time. There are middle schools who have used that. We used it. We were in A school when we used it here at OMS. I've done a 6 period, a 7 period, and a 4x4, 8. And we've been high performing every year. Our highest performing year was last year. So it is a little tricky when you're at the height of your game and the best of the district to make yet another change. But it's always striving to be even better. And to not just stand out in Lee County, to stand out in the state of one of the best. So It's a little bit different world with credits and what's expected at a high school for sure. But for us, we want to look at all those things I pointed out. And right now we're feeling the 84 minutes might be just a little bit too long. 47 simply isn't enough.
Oh, let me do one more. I'm sorry. It's super important.
Super important to mention budget. And we are not in our budget cycle of what our budget looks like, but it is less expensive to run a 5x5 or a 6x6 or a straight 7. There's no question you save staff. Right now, if I just went pure, I could save up to 4 or 5 teachers. That's a lot of money. We will not go quite that far because you still need people to help out with your intensive classes to make sure we're supporting our lowest learners. Guidance counselors, school counselors are extremely needed. You might have to increase in other areas that allows you to do some of those creative things. But if you just went bare bones, I could probably save at least 2 or 3 positions. And in the world of looking for teachers, the applicants are simply not there. They were visibly there, like at GCU, and they were amazing. But I really believe that they think they can have any position that they go after. And they would line up to say, like, well, I have an interview at school A. Well, what if school A falls through? I'm gonna get school A, and I know I'm gonna get it. And they're waiting a little bit longer to get their position. So having 2, 3, 4, 5 openings is a little bit scary. None of us want to start the year with substitute teachers. It's not appropriate for kids. It is a bad spot to be in. If you shrink the schedule somewhat and take away some sections, you need fewer teachers.
First of all, thank you for that very good comment. Well, documented before. I know you were leaning one side versus the other, but we're willing to keep on behind you. Everybody has to stay in the program. Shows true leadership. I think that having an off-task time is important. It allows teachers and students to be creative. Not every single second has to be instruction. That doesn't necessarily make you a smarter student. I don't think correlates completely that way. I think that there is some modification between a block and period that we can probably find at Siglet Times and found that modification. So I think that going with a model that's already done and proven, probably great.
Can I comment on that?
Please do.
5x5 might work at the middle school, but it simply just can't work at the high school level. It cannot work because if we go to a 5x5, a math teacher I can't teach the kids every day on a block schedule. Currently, we teach 7 classes out of 8. If we go down to periods, we teach 6 out of 7. That's possible. But if we go to 5x5, if I have planning every day, I have to teach only 4 classes. And that's impossible at a school we don't have a classroom, we don't have teachers, we have to double our staff.
Do you see some kind of a modification between the block and period that is?
At a high school schedule, I don't think there could be a middle
I think
ground.
it's just one or the other.
I think it's one or the other. I don't think there's a really realistic middle ground that you can meet because the teachers have to teach so many classes. We can't double up. Like at the middle school, there's some teachers that really only teach 3 classes. Right? I teach 7. We can't meet in the middle there.
So, Mr. Hopper's comments kind of triggered something in my mind. So, the research is pretty clear about this balance between direct instruction and then guided practice, independent practice, them being able to explore and all of that. So I, again, would wonder about how much of that exploration and the hands-on and all that can happen in a short period of time. But
So there's a lot of teachers who teach that way. About half the class, they do direct instruction or guided instruction, and the second half of the class, the students do hand-on material. We go to periods. On Monday, they can just teach that way, and on Tuesday, they can do guided material the whole time, where the kids work on their own. And on Wednesday, they can have guided instruction, and then on Thursday, the kids work on their own, and it's continued that way. It wouldn't change them too much, except they gain minutes.
They're evaluated on the Marzano model, which has to involve collaboration and all those instructional strategies. That's what we look for when we evaluate. We need to see that in order for the teacher to get an acceptable evaluation. If we don't.
okay. And to Mr. Jackson's point, I would say, and the research is back it up, that a little bit of off, I'm not saying a bunch of off tasks, or a bunch of, free time, but some, they're not machines, right? So some, there's, I'm sure you know, but cognitive overload is a real thing. It's a real thing for us too. So if students are constantly going, right, they're not really retaining the information anyway. So although it's being taught, there's a question there between what is being taught and what is being learned. So I think that's important to think about. And again, I'm just, I'm coming from a adolescent development, background, but, and again, I'm not saying that they need a bunch of downtime. I don't think that, but their brain is going through a lot of things right now, and especially at that age. So, they have some of it where they get, to take a break or have, they have some choice in or whatever it is, that actually supports their learning and it supports their motivation and their engagement, and that is what supports learning.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
So I agree on that. I'm not saying go up and direct instruct for 47 minutes. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying 47 minutes, over 2 days, you have 94 minutes as opposed to 85, so you gain more minutes at that start. I know earlier you mentioned about the training of the teachers, and while that's a point, that's not the main point. The main point is the lack of daily instruction. Like I said, if a student misses one block, they miss half a week of instruction. That's a lot to miss. I know in college it's a little bit different. You can meet 3 times a week for 50 minutes, or twice a week for an hour and 20, or once a week for about 3 hours a week. So I know it's a little different. And obviously with periods with high school, we just can't make it exactly the same. But in an ideal 47-minute period, in my opinion, I taught periods my first year teaching in Orlando, and it's not teaching for 47 minutes directly, but maybe you just go up, you have a bell work for the first 5 minutes of class, you teach for about 20, and the kids are still working on independent or peer practice for the next 20 minutes. And then we're not just drilling them the whole time. They're still having time to talk with their peers and work together. As Superintendent Collins said, part of the horizontal strategy is we have to have that cooperative learning, and we still would have that, and then we could finish with some type of formative assessment, whether it be an exit ticket or just, verbal thumbs up, thumb down, where you're on the learning target, stuff like that. We still can have all those check marks with periods, except the only difference is we see the kids every single day for that daily instruction.
It almost seems like the period actually would allow for more off-task time, because you can kind of feel the students where they're at. I think you can, if it's adding minutes with the period schedule, more minutes for off-task.
Absolutely. And if you have to push something back, you're only pushing it back to the next day. In blocks, you push something back, you might push it to next week. Right, so it's very different in that regard too. So if you do feel like, if you're feeling like, okay, we need to spend a little more time just practicing, it's not the end of the world in the period schedule, because again, you'll see them the very next day.
All right. Thank you for the presentation and for the dialogue. Thank you for the answers. And we look forward to seeing what your decisions as you move that forward. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, one question for you, Ms. Collins. Your things have changed a little bit in the sense that now you're attending more of the city manager meetings, or how would you describe that? So describe how that's changed a little bit within the city structure.
I do attend city manager meetings every Thursday. It's the director meeting. I have a direct insight as to what the city's going through and the big projects that they're working on, and a direct course of interaction with Mike Ilchison, the interim director. So it's very good. So we're developing a relationship where if I see things that are potential issues and problems, like portables, for example, I can address them directly with him. Not necessarily problems, but concerns that the school has versus what a city might experience, because we're two separate entities in certain respects. Schools have more urgency than a city department does or a city building does. And I think by going to those meetings and interacting with those directors and giving my reports when I attend those meetings, I think they're realizing that the level of urgency is different for what we need. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Great. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Collins? All right, great. We have a city manager report. Any report from the city side?
We have
Yes.
Hi, for the record, Sophie,
For the record, Crystal Feast, Deputy Financial Services Director, Mark Mason, Adam Pryor, and Connecticut tonight, so I'm here in this place. I don't have anything to report tonight, but I'm prepared to take questions and take them back to this meeting.
All right, insurance report. Let's see, what, and there's a few points we want to cover, but we do have two new school board members that have been appointed, right? Aaron Michaels and Kathy Stout. And that was done at the last city council.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Is there anything you might want to share from the presentation or what your impressions of them? Or we'll need them next time.
Sure, yeah, I think I would, I wouldn't do them any, I'd do them a disservice if I tried to introduce them. Yeah, it was a collective discussion. A couple of members that were selected, ultimately those were two individuals out of the pool. It was a good pool of people, which is always good to see. Several of them were uniquely qualified in different aspects. And so collectively council came up with those two individuals, and I think they're going to serve the board well, and I look forward to letting them introduce themselves and seeing how they can collaborate here and get some good.
Yeah, we did have a good turnout of candidates.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to say that was, I think we all got the applicants, right? It was at least 8 or 9 of them,
Yeah.
which is, I think more than the last one, like, came around.
Okay, and then the other point over the last couple weeks, we had a meeting with the mayor late last week. And what was interesting is we talked a little bit about the service level agreements. And there was a recommendation that it not be included in chapter 26 because it's an ordinance. And the rationale was, since it's an ordinance, it really wouldn't belong there in terms of requiring us to have service level agreement with the city. Is that accurate from a legal perspective?
The ordinance is more permanent. So if you want to make changes to the ordinance, it requires 2 meetings in front of the city council, and you have to go through the whole process. And that is, if you had something like a resolution or some sort of, I don't know what we could fashion at this point, but it would be more amenable on that different course of action.
Perfect, perfect. And that was the, what Connie Barrett suggested is, she was, well, when we have suppliers for the city for large contracts, there is a contract in essence for performance. So as we review the service level agreements, we can convert this into a contract, into an agreement of, let's say, a 3-year agreement. So we did receive a very good draft from the city for service level agreements for each department. We'll make sure that the board receives those. And hopefully within the next month or so, we can provide information back to the city on those service level agreements. And then the goal would be to convert that into a service level contract that both sign off, we sign off. And there's a little bit more comfort that we're clear as to what service levels we're receiving, and the city's clear on what service levels they're providing. And that way, it isn't in the ordinance. We're not bound by it in the ordinance, but there is some level of an agreement between both parties, right? So that was very helpful when we had the meeting with the mayor, and that was shared. Superintendent's performance evaluation, right? So we did receive something via email on the superintendent's evaluation, and there's a deadline to have our assessment back. I think it's in May.
April 28th.
April 28th to have that done. So please be on the lookout for that. We talked about the budget workshop, that the May session will be our first budget workshop, and that's helpful. And then you've seen the various save the dates for the Oasis Charter School different activities, right? We have the Lighthouse Awards coming up.
21st.
21st. I'm sure we're going to get a presentation.
It'll be 4 seconds.
4 seconds. All right, and then there's a number of different, depending on if you're brand new or an existing board member, your financial statements that you'll have to provide. And I think we have until July to get those done.
July 1, that should come to your residence. It's the Form 1. And if you were looking at the chart and see where you fall, that's the form that you need to complete. Some people have a Form 1 and some have a 1F. Just have to see where you fall on the chart. And also, if you will kindly please RSVP, look at your calendars for the high school graduation and senior awards night, and the Krista McAuliffe Challenger True Stars Award, which is part of their 5th grade promotion that keeps the Krista image and intent alive over at Oasis North. So if you can respond to any of those, that would be great.
Fantastic. All right, so you received those via email. Okay, and with that, I think the last thing I'll share is that the Hurricane Ian Recovery Task Force is progressing. Again, there's branches. One branch is education and workshop. That's the branch that I'm in. And we have our second meeting this coming week, on the 13th. Again, I am looking to see how else we can ensure that Oasis, as well as other charter schools, are represented in the planning, right, of how potentially those funds are going to be dispersed. Okay, with that, we have our budget report. Ready?
I'll add 4 seconds.
Okay.
I don't know, can you guys all hear me? That thing's annoying, sorry. It's like squeaking and doing all kinds of things. Gary, just wanted to bring up 2 things, hopefully you guys are all doing all right. Other than our normal things that we're doing, our grants and all that, Mr. Benaya had mentioned the Lighthouse Awards. I've actually got a little intel on how many people have, but for those of you that, I won't mention names, but for those of you that have, thank you. For those of you that have not, please come. It's fun. It's a cheap or free meal depending on how how many people you're bringing. It's at Lavenzia this year instead of the Yacht Club, because I don't, Yacht Club even, does it exist right now? I haven't even been down there. Is it gone?
Open to interpretation.
Subject, kind of like I just tracked it, which I did this the other day. Sorry. The police sign tomorrow is actually the deadline. I mean, it's a lot of work to not have a deadline. If people start calling, Wednesday, can I come? I totally forgot. So please come. And I don't, were you going to call, did you invite them?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the city council. Okay. Just, haven't had a lot of bites on that side, and I know there's an incredible amount going on, but it's fun. It's a city school. I think we kind of cool to go, and it's a lot of fun for anybody that's in. Has anybody not had fun? Is anybody here that's never had fun? Oh, not false. Fake news. Just kidding. No, there's that. So anyway, please come, and please RSVP by tomorrow if you can. Devin's our board, our chair for that event, and she works really hard on that, like really hard. So all of us can just show up, please. And then the other thing is scholarships. We actually had an incredible amount of scholarships this year. Most of them came in at the 11th hour, but it was a lot more than we saw, like 4 until about a week out. All of a sudden they start pouring in, so that's really cool. The amounts are TBD. We have some money to work with, but we're going to sort of maneuver around that. We have a trade scholarship that we're doing, and then more traditional scholarships as well. So we're trying to figure out how to facilitate interviews and things of that nature. And then, and we did a street cleanup. We foundation. We adopted this road. I think I may have mentioned that last time. I can't remember. But we adopted basically an Oasis completely. So we had a nice cleanup event. Had a bunch of Jen. I know your husband had a lot to do with that.
About 45, 47 people.
47 people showed up before 8 a.m. on a Saturday.
It was very late.
Just saying. It was cool. We did a lot. I mean, I know my bag was full, and so was everybody else. It's really cool, and it was a citywide deal. I know it's a little off the beaten path, but it's all just little positive little tidbits, little check boxes. That's it. Thank you. Peace out, Lighthouse. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Okay, and any other staff comment for today?
Oh, I could say one thing.
Yes.
just kind of offbeat with the Keighley County Beautiful. So we adopted the road through Keighley County Beautiful. So that is now official. It used to be through the city and you could do like a 1 mile. And we always used to have, for a couple of years, we had like 1 mile right in front of Oasis. But now Keighley County Beautiful took it over and we kind of re-upped our membership. And we did the whole entire road. But on April 22nd, which is Earth Day, there is a citywide cleanup event. It's coming through the city, but just to kind of push it out there, because we just did this kind of beautiful event with the school. It's in your own neighborhood, on your own street, go to a park if you are available. And it's advertised through the city. So I have no affiliation with that, but it's just one of those good feeling. Let's help clean up where we live. There's still hurricane debris. There's still lots of trash blowing all over the place. So we can all do our part to just help even in our own street.
High school kids get volunteer hours. Kids are struggling at this time of year.
Thank you. Okay, no new business. So final board comments. What do we start with? Any other report?
I don't know. I'm definitely interested in hearing the follow-up to, we had a very lively discussion about the block schedule versus the period schedule. So I'm hoping that you guys will be able to enlighten us as to what you ultimately decide. And I'd be very interested to see, I don't know if anyone had a chance to fill out how the parents and kids think one way or another, if anything has come out of that, because I'd be very interested to hear where they fall on that, which they do. One easier or better,
She's not here anymore, the teacher with the bear project.
Oh, Lori.
So I got to see that picture. I had Dr. O sent me a picture earlier last week, and I got to show my students at GCU because we were using a 3D printer, and they were in love with it. So, I mean, I was going to say I showed it to them, but I just thought that was so wonderful. And for the students to see that impact, how they can impact beyond their local community, beyond their school is extremely valuable. I want to give a shout out to the sprinkling at OEN. My kids were living the dream over there. It was a great event. I'm glad to hear that the modulars are on track, on schedule. And to echo what Makisha said, I look forward to whatever updates you all provide about the block schedule. So, thank you.
I'm happy to hear that the city is incorporating Ms. Collins more into the sessions and she at the table. I think that's going to help a lot. It seems like we're coalescing on that, improve our school system dramatically. I think it's great when the teachers and the staff come up here and present their projects and their things that they do. They show such ownership and passion. And I think that's a true testament to the school that we are. I'm very persuasive argument that I heard both ways today. I still don't know what side I fall on, so good luck with that decision. I'm glad that we were able to have such a discussion and be open-minded about it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that our Latin singers were fantastic, and how they also said their pledge of allegiance in the background. It's always classic and perfect, right? For the Bears, the ITA conference that's coming up. Have a safe trip, and I'm sure it'll be very productive, and we look forward to hearing about that. And then the Oasis principal search. Looks like there's good interest, and you're working through the process, and we've got some great candidates. So that's fantastic. It was interesting. One of the principals shared that Mayor Gunter, when he originally started on our Oasis board before he was mayor, he actually went and visited every school, took a tour of each of the schools. And then it was interesting that sometimes he was one of the last city leaders that actually did the whole tour, right? And then I thought, well, it's interesting. Maybe we should invite the other council members to come in and maybe they say a few words, but at a minimum, they're here with us. But there's probably a better way that we can reach out and connect the rest of the city. So that not only do they see the normal reports that we give, but they get a chance to see, you know, what our principals, their group, you know, the great work the principals and staff are doing. So that would be another consideration. All right, and that's it. So anything else before we dispose? So our next general, I never say this, so we always put it up right before that. Next governing board meeting is Tuesday, May 9th, City Council Chambers. And that's when we'll also have our budget workshop as well. All right,
4 p.m.?
4 p.m.
Kathleen?
4:30.
4:30.
4:30, according to my notes. All right.
And then the regular meeting will
We'll
follow.
follow. And yeah, all right. No dinner or anything like that, right, well. Bring your
You know what, I will bring you the snacks, I know the snacks that you guys have, the little cheese, the little, we'll work something out. We got it.
Great, and thank you for hosting us here. Greatly appreciate it. All right, thank you, Dirk.